And with that, engines come to life on pit lane. Time to go racing with the road to Indy. We'll send it back up to John Phippen. I'll be in the booth momentarily with Joey Brienza, one of our drivers from Exclusive Autosport. It's time to go racing with USF 2000.
Thanks, Rob Howden, as we are watching the cars come to life here on the pit straightaway for the second of 3 races for the weekend for the USF 2000 drivers. Miles Rowe taking over the points championship with that win yesterday, his 3rd on the season. Michael D'Orlando, as Rob mentioned, with an issue early in the race, 7th lap of the race on his way back, as Chase Denmark hangs on to the 3rd spot. Billy Frazier had probably the most impressive run, as he also got caught up in somebody else's incident, dropped back early, and just kept picking off places all the way through the race. Finishing in the top 5 was Billy Frazier. Jagger Jones, a winner this season at Barber, still 5th in the points championship. Bijoy Garg, as we mentioned, in 6th. Thomas Nepfo, Christian Weir, and Spike Kobecker swapped places. Christian Weir moving up to 8th in the points championship on the strength of his finish yesterday. Kobecker dropped back to 9th. Jackson Lee also moving up a spot, as does Victor Anderson, Nicholas D'Orlando, and Nikita Johnson, all on the strength of their good finishes in yesterday's race. So looking forward more of the same for this one and the finale coming up this afternoon at 5 o'clock. These drivers mentioned in the identical Tatis 22 chassis, the Elite prepared 2-liter motor. These cars making about 170 horsepower, thereabouts, as these drivers, many of them as young as 14 years of age, coming right from go-karting into the series. Rob Howden has come back up into the booth. I'll turn the mic over to him, and we'll have the call for race number 2 of USF 2000.
So indeed, drivers have worked their way back on. Thank you so much, John, for help there. Making the quick run from pit lane up to the booth here at Mid-Ohio. Drivers getting set to go. Michael D'Orlando alongside Miles Rowe. Field now set. Tail stragglers need to get up there and get part of this action. Side by side, they'll get the green coming off the final corner of the racetrack, and we are racing. Green, green, green for the first of 2 USF 2000 races today. They'll work their way down into turn number 1. Clean through thus far. Run down to the keyhole now. One driver dropping a wheel on the exit of the corner. You see the big dust up coming out of 1. 3, 4 wide. Driver looking to go to the bottom. One driver up and over. There's going to be contact there. One of the J. Howard driver development cars, I think, off to the inside of the racetrack onto the grass. In contact with one of the D-Force cars, I think. Look at everybody able to come back on, though. Surprising. Again, working their way down the front straightaway. Over there, hard contact with the J. Howard car that went down to the inside. Aggressive run the first time down into turn number 4. The long back straightaway here. Another driver spinning further back. Driver around on the exit of turn number 4. So a little bit of action here, but everybody continuing so far. The driver number 32 going around Christian Weir with the driver spun down in turn number 4. So Weir dropping the wheel on the exit of that corner. And Christian Weir able to continue. And we stay green. Maybe look at the top 10. They come through. Oh, there's another driver having big time trouble. I think that was Nikita Johnson. Top of the hill. That blind corner as you raise over the top. He lost it and went off track. The driver coming into pit lane here. We'll see who that is momentarily, but the driver to pit lane with some damage. Likely the driver went off track in turn number 2. Opening lap in the books. D'Orlando with the lead. Indeed, it was the number 7 of Lockie Hughes. Lockie Hughes, who finished on the podium yesterday, but had an issue in post-tech inspection. Was the driver who went off the inside up onto the grass in turn number 2. You saw that there. Got contact. The driver, he got touch with, I believe, might have been Weir. So yeah, there you go. Weir into the number 32 with a flat left front tire. So a lot of action here on the opening circuit. Let's take the opportunity now to have a couple of replays of some of the incidents we saw on the opening circuit. We'll bring you up to speed and a better look at it. Obviously, very quickly in the opening lap. Keyhole, of course, the first incident we saw that driver come down the inside. This will be the incident here with Christian Weir. Coming outside, looks like there was some contact there from the driver behind him. Weir might have been helped into that spin loop, and it looks like he was on the left of the racetrack, potentially trying to do a bit of an offensive move with some contact behind. This is going to be going off track, just missing the exit, not even able to get the car turned, probably too late on the apex there. He ends up going four wheels across the grass. Luckily for him, able to continue. Fell down the order quite a ways though. So, a little bit of action here early on. We'll settle things in, get back to it. I'd love that to be able to have a look at that incident that happened up in turn number 2. That was the one with Lucky Hughes off to the inside of the racetrack in the grass. He had nowhere to go once he got on the grass. So maybe we'll find that replay for you and have a look. Otherwise, drivers settling in. There's a trouble there for one of the D-Force cars. That's Dylan Christie. He had trouble turning into turn number 2. That's going to allow Billy Fraser now to move his way up into 6th. So Fraser now into the 6th position. Christie trying to tuck in. You know Fraser's going to drive that car to the bottom of the racetrack in turn number 4. Lucky Hughes back rolling here on pit lane. And you watch that. Oh, contact! Drivers together! That was Fraser and Christie together. Fraser going to continue, but there's probably damage there. Christie almost went up and over. So that'll be it for Billy Fraser. What happened there? The two drivers making contact as they came into the braking zone. That'll be a full course yellow for sure. And Billy Fraser potentially coming to a stop here in the next turn number 4. He made that move to the inside of Dylan Christie. He and Christie somehow coming together into the braking zone. Turn number 4. Christie did a 360 in the air. Full course yellow. Full course yellow. Further back, drop the wheel as well. And tough for Billy Fraser, who comes into this event after a good run to the podium yesterday, 4th in the championship. That is going to hurt Fraser. I'm sure we'll be able to get a replay of that. 4 laps in, the AMR safety team quickly to Dylan Christie, and luckily he did not go upside down because that car was up in the air. All right, so let's have a look at what happened coming down into turn number 4. Look way back in the back there. Look at the back in like 6th position. They're just coming through the kink right now. Front 4 or 5 drivers have been able to come through. Wait for contact further back. They're side by side. Fraser on the inside, outside, and it looked to me like Dylan Christie may have tried to come across the front. There's a look out, up on 2 wheels coming back down. I'm going to expect it's probably right front damage. The car of Christie. All of a sudden he came across the side. Tough to make a call from that far away, but suffice it to say both those drivers having contact as they were essentially side by side coming down into turn number 4. So man, that was a wild one for sure. Let's have a look at as they come back around. Michael D'Orlando with the lead. We'll reset for you. Miles Rowe in 2nd, Jace Denmark 3rd, Nikita Johnson 4th, Jagger Jones up to the 5th spot, 6th is Nikki Hayes, 7th Jacob Douglas, 8th Spike Colbecker, 9th Nick D'Orlando, and 10th is Bashoy Gard. So join me now inside the booth. Joey Brienza, a young driver who runs in the F1600 Championship Series from Exclusive Autosport, done a couple of races in USF 2000 this year. One race in a couple of venues trying to hold the status for next year. Tough for you to watch that. I know we'll get more into what you've done this year, Joey, but tough to watch that. That's your teammate Billy Fraser. You know how hard he worked yesterday. Tough to see him go out of the race this early. Gotta bring you in. Pick this up right now. Hold on. He's coming through right now. Billy Fraser potentially get this car fixed. I don't think so. Left front tire, major damage. It is towed out big time. I'm sure they'll try to go to work potentially get him back onto the racetrack with the number 92 of Billy Fraser. Will bring that machine in. He's going to lose a lap right now. Another lap as they come back through here. So Fraser was able to get himself back to pit lane. They'll see if the team goes to work on it, but otherwise that may be it for Billy Fraser. I think he may have shut that car off. let's go to this then, Joey. You've run a couple of races, of course, here in USF 2000. It is so close. The drivers are so good. You've had some really good runs already, but it's close quarters racing. In all these corners, you guys are super tight. You're on each other. This is the kind of contact that can certainly happen.
Yeah, it's once again, you never want to see it, but it kind of comes along with racing. And I just think it's part of racing in these really close environments.
Yeah,
it's
right.
obviously super competitive because everybody has the same goal. We all want to get to IndyCar, and it's cutthroat. It's, you know, if you leave an inch, someone's going to take it.
That's exactly that. And again, what we saw there was a little bit of an issue up in the keyhole for Dylan Christie. Wasn't able to get the car turned in and had to re-steer it out. That gave the line back to Billy Fraser. Dylan got a really good run, being able to come back down the hill and had a better line kind of coming out of turn number 2. And of course, got that fantastic run down the straightaway. Let's have a look at this right now. We're going to do, I believe, a zoomed-in shot of this. We'll see the contact between these two drivers. Again, I'll step back. I don't want to make any thoughts on what happened, but you see them up top up there, running side by side. This is very likely, it's going to be that wheel-to-wheel contact. Yeah, that's probably going to be left front to right rear. And that spun Dylan Christie around, and like I said, very lucky that he did not go upside down. We saw the left front damage to Billy Fraser when he rolled in here to pit lane. So tough for both of those drivers. We're coming off pretty good runs. Dylan Christie currently 12th in the points. Billy Fraser in the 4 spot in points coming in. So a damaging run for them. The team can get both of those cars repaired and get him back out onto the racetrack. We have another race this afternoon, like I said, so we'll see both these drivers in race number 3, but tough for both Billy Fraser and for Dylan Christie. I think we're going to go back to green this time by. The AMR safety team has been able to get themselves back into position, and indeed we are rolling. Just lost 3 laps there for the incident down in turn number 4, but we are back to racing, as I said. D. Orlando jumps on the loud pedal, works his way up into turn number 1. Miles Rowe tucking in. Rowe right behind him on the gearbox. Do we see a pass potentially coming down into turn number 2? Will D. Orlando run the defensive line to the inside? No, he'll do the race line. In fact, he's got himself a little bit of room, at least probably a car length coming down into 1. Everyone else stacking and packing. Lockie Hughes backing onto the racetrack, and he is rolling once again. They were able to get the new wing put on Lockie Hughes, but he is, I believe, a lap down. Billy Fraser indeed out of the car. I don't see the crew working on that machine, so Fraser will be officially classified down in 19th position. They'll be looking for a redemption this afternoon. A little more of a defensive inside line there for D. Orlando coming down into turn number 4. So, although look at the outside run here, an over-under potentially for Miles Rowe. He'll go down to the bottom of the racetrack, and Rowe is your leader. Book it, he's through. Chase Denmark gets passed as well, so past racing goes 1-2 again. Rowe to the lead, Denmark into second. D. Orlando slotting back into third with 14-year-old Nikita Johnson right on the gearbox. Johnson getting pressured aggressively here too by Jagger Jones. Nicky Hayes right in there. Best we've seen out of Hayes here in 2022. So Field settling in after the initial incident. Almost some issues there for Jagger Jones as he drops a wheel. Jones had a couple drivers having some trouble coming up and over the hill here. Here's a pass further back. That's the number 2 of Jackson Lee going after Bajoy Gard. He'll go to the inside. Lee's going to get that position. That'll be for top 10. So Jackson Lee, who started back in 17th, some attrition and some aggressive moving forward for Lee. He's into the top 10. Joey Brienza joining me here again, one of the USF 2000 drivers for Exclusive On Sport. We'll see him in the program next year, full-time program. Coming up out of Thunder Valley, Joey, we've seen a couple guys have trouble there. People don't realize it's how much of a blind corner that is. You really have to kind of pick your line, hope it's right, because when you get over the hill, you're heading right to the exit point.
Yeah, it's that's honestly my favorite corner
Is
on
it?
the track. Yeah, I love it. It's super high speed. You go in and you carry about as much speed as possible and hope the car sticks.
You ever have any trouble like these boys have so far? Have you dropped the wheel there yet?
If you haven't dropped a wheel there, you're not trying hard enough.
I love that. I always say, you don't know where the edge is until you go over it.
Exactly,
Right?
yeah.
Again, Joey Brienza joining me here in the booth at Mid-Ohio as we are running our second USF 2000 race of the weekend. One more coming later on this afternoon. We'll cap off the day with USF. A couple races as well for Indy Pro 2000. Indy Pro 2000 coming right after this one. Back-to-back Road to Indy races for those of you who are enjoying the morning here at Mid-Ohio. Hopefully those of you camping made it through the winds last night, but will enjoy yourself a gorgeous day right now. As I said at the start, up to 74 degrees right now. Just beautiful blue sunny skies. Awesome day of racing here at Mid-Ohio. IndyCar drivers back out for another session. So again, USF 2000 drivers coming back onto the racetrack with a vastly different track because of the IndyCar rubber that's already gone down. They did that yesterday as well. The first time they went racing and down into turn 4 at speed side by side was right after the IndyCars. So a track totally different than the testing they had on Thursday, and of course practice qualifying on Sunday, or rather on Saturday as well. So listen, Joey, let's go to you and ask that question, because you've run a couple of races with IndyCar, one of them being Road America. How much different is the racetrack before IndyCar and after IndyCar? Is it that much different? And if so, tell me that. Give me some insight on that.
Yeah, the track changes a lot. IndyCar has much bigger tires. I mean, our rear tires are like a fraction of their front tires. The tires are massive.
So does it change the entry? Is it more mid-corner grip? Where do you get more grip or less grip? Is it greasy? What's the feel in the car?
Honestly, there are so many different variables that it changes track to track, weather to weather. Sometimes it can make the car more loose. Sometimes it can make the car really, really tight. It has a lot of variables in it. But one thing, you know, I have a great engineer under my team, Lou D'Agostino. He's got like triple the experience of my lifetime. So when you have a great guy like that working on the cars, you know, even when the rubber comes down, he's always going to give you a good car to you know, go through it, because the track does change a lot with that grip. It's a whole new variable.
And that's it. We've talked about this before, really going into it. You guys are obviously surprised by it, but the engineers have to have the experience to understand what I need to do to this race car, knowing that the grip levels are going to be up because of IndyCar, and it really relies a lot on the engineers to come up with that exact setup. And like Joey said, there is a lot of variables. The tracks can be incredibly different. This one here, Mid-Ohio, well known for the fact that the weather changes during a weekend can drastically change it. It can go from really grippy to really slippery just by a 10-degree change, cloud cover, whatever it may be. So any day could be a different day for the drivers here in the Road to Indy program. We did see Michael D'Orlando get by Jace Denmark, and he actually brought Nikita Johnson with him, so a bit of a swap up top there as Joey and I were talking about the track itself. D'Orlando, who had fallen back to third, able to get back by Jace Denmark. He's back into the second spot, Johnson third. Nikita Johnson was running P3 yesterday, but some contact, I believe, with he and Jace Denmark ended up getting a flat tire for him, dropping him to the tail of the field. So coming off an 8th place finish at Road America in his debut weekend, the 14-year-old has been impressive in trying to work his way up front here. So quick out of the gate for VRD Racing. Johnson running in third, Jace Denmark fourth. Nicky Hayes and Jagger Jones in 5th and 6th. Hayes able to get by Jones to move Hayes up to 5th, Jones to 6th. Another top 10 run so far for Jacob Douglas in 7th, Nicholas D'Orlando in 8th, Spike Kohlbecker 9th, and Jackson Lee, who started back in the 17th position, has been able to work his way up into the top 10. So a good run here for Jackson Lee, no doubt about it. But again, the impressive drive here for Nikita Johnson in the number 17 machine out of Gulfport, Florida. And he's been running in our USF Juniors program. We're actually here next week. If you're a Mid-Ohio race fan, you plan on being here with the NASCAR Truck Series next week, we're here with the USF Juniors. It's our development program that prepares drivers to move into USF 2000. We're going to have a great field of cars next week, potentially 18 to 19 cars on track in USF Juniors. And again, those are the drivers you'll see work their way into USF 2000 next year, 2022, or 2023 and 2024. Brand new race car for that USF Juniors program next year. Very similar car, same chassis as the one you're seeing right now. Very similar car to USF 2000. A little less horsepower, a little less aerodynamics. A car that's a little easier to drive for the young drivers. There's a mistake by Nikita Johnson once again. Johnson goes off into the grass. He has struggled coming up out of Thunder Valley. So again, in turn number 11, he has trouble, goes 4 wheels off, and will lose a couple of spots. Eventually really only lost 1 spot, which is surprising, but I have a feeling that Hayes, Jones, and Douglas may be able to take advantage of that, because coming back onto the racetrack, he was going to lose a lot of forward bite. Another dust up further back in turn number 1. Yeah, indeed, one driver's gone through. I think that may be Hayes who has gone through. Nikita Johnson losing a couple of spots there, going off track. Jace Denmark and Nikki Hayes able to get through. So a lot of racing happening so far. We're just past the halfway point, 11 points down, 11 laps down, 20 laps the distance, 9 to go. Again, Joey Brienza from Exclusive Autosport joining me up here. Joey, how easy is it for a mistake to make a mistake, especially when you're a rookie driver? You talked about pushing hard. If you hadn't dropped the wheel in turn 11, you haven't pushed hard enough. Are you pushing that hard? Is it the knife edge all the time where you can make a small mistake here and there and other guys are going to capitalize?
I mean, there's a balance. In qualifying, you got to leave everything on the table. In qualifying, especially at this track, I believe the top 10 or 11 were within 3/10,
right,
which that's ridiculous. That's insane. So, you know, you got to leave everything on the table in qualifying, because if you leave a little bit here, a little bit there, it adds up to a 10th, and that's like 5 positions, which, especially at a high downforce track like Mid-Ohio, you need every spot you can get in qualifying.
Yeah, you're saying the high downforce, right? That's the difference between like a Road America. You maybe trim it out a little bit for the long straightaways, right? Here, there's so much downforce, and you're really railing it the whole time.
Yeah, the aero wash off the back of the other cars is way more magnified here than it is at a track like Indy or Road America, just because you run more of a high downforce setup due to just the nature of the track. More turns, less straights, you need that extra downforce. And, you know, it's in the race, back to the mistakes, it all depends on your position. If you have a lead like Miles has right now, I wouldn't say be conservative, but don't be trying to make those mistakes and
right,
leaving everything on the table.
We talked about that with Josh Green yesterday when he was doing this, when Miles was out there. I said, are you driving like 80%? He goes, no, maybe 98 or 97. You take a little bit off, not a lot off, right?
Yeah, instead of being right on the dirt, exiting some of the corners, you leave like an inch.
An inch, as opposed to being right on the white line. Watching drivers work their way up through that turn number 9 section, which is the car gets really light coming through 9 and plummets down into Thunder Valley through turn 10 here, then back up the blind left-hand turn number 11. We've seen a couple of drivers go off, Jagger Jones, Nikita Johnson. Otherwise, the front driver's kind of settling in right now. It's a 1.1 second lead for Miles Rowe, looking to extend his championship point lead over Michael D'Orlando. Jace Denmark in third spot will be another podium for Jace. Again, working his way. He's had 2 podiums in the last 3 races. Ivagoras Papasavas down into pit lane here for Jay Howard Driver Development. Looks like it's going to be a right front change for Papasavas. He was running in the 16th position. Not sure if they're going to go front tires or just the right front, potentially for a puncture. Rowe leading by 1.1, as I said, another 2 seconds back to Jace Denmark, looking for his third podium in the last 4 races. Nikita Johnson looking for his best career run, again, only in the second weekend here. Here's what's happened for Papasavas right now. They're putting fresh tires on his car. What they're looking to do here right now is to see if he can get a fast lap. The way we set the grid for all the events here, one qualifying session. Your fastest lap set the grid for race 1. Your second fastest lap sets the grid for race 2 and race 3. So what they're doing right now, they're trying to see if they can't get Papasavas out there with fresh tires, a hotter, grippier racetrack right now than it was in qualifying, try to get him to get a fast lap to potentially move his way up the grid. We've seen this happen many times. So a little bit of a strategy call right now for the Jay Howard Driver Development crew. They'll send Papasavas out after the entire field storms through. He'll have open racetrack, and there'll be a possibility that he may be able to work his way up. His fastest lap was 20th in qualifying, a 123.8. If he can do a 122.8, he'll move his way up potentially into 13th or 12th or 13th, which would be a big improvement in terms of his starting position for the race this afternoon. So again, drivers out of this race, Billy Fraser and Dylan Christie contact on the back straightaway early. We've also got Christian Weir about 3 laps down right now. Lockie Hughes a couple of laps down. And I think we're going to see the same thing for Lockie Hughes. Indeed, Jay Howard Driver Development pulling the strategy call to put these guys on fresh tires. This will be their last set of fresh rubber. They're going to put them on right now to see if they can't move themselves up the grid. For Lockie Hughes, the pace he has, he may be able to even lock down a pole run. So this could be interesting for Lockie Hughes. Strategy call from the guys at Jay Howard Driver Development. It's Rowe leading, D'Orlando second, Denmark third, Johnson fourth, Hayes fifth, Jones in sixth, Douglas seventh, Nick D'Orlando eighth, Kohlbecker in ninth, and Jackson Lee rounding out the top 10. And again, just 6 laps remaining. So Papasavas has already gone out there. We'll have a look at his lap times once he gets those new Cooper tires up to temperature. Again, more racing. We're going to go right into the Indy Pro 2000 category for their race right after this. Later on today, Indy Pro 2000, actually USF 2000 racing at 5 o'clock for their third race, and then 5:55 scheduled start time for Indy Pro 2000. So we'll essentially cap off the day for you with a couple of Road to Indy races, Level 1 and Level 2. Indy Lights, of course, racing tomorrow, and we'll see which one of our USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000 graduates able to make the move. One of the things we saw yesterday afternoon was Michael D'Orlando seemed to have some really strong pace. Even though he got in an incident and fell back, he was able to turn the fastest lap of the race late in the run. He has been slowly but surely reeling in Miles Rowe. 1/10 of a second at a time. He was only a 1/10 quicker. Now, he's only got 6 laps remaining. Once he gets close, as Joey had mentioned, you'll get that aero wash. So much downforce powered into these cars. Here's one of the best battles on the racetrack right now. That is the number 3 of Jagger Jones, who's got Jacob Douglas working him over. Right behind him as well, Nicholas D'Orlando in the VRD Racing number 61. So Douglas, who got a top 5 finish yesterday, looking to push Jagger Jones here for P6. And Joey, you run in the F1600 Championship, but I know you got great success there, a lot of great experience. So many drivers have an F1600, but when you start getting momentum off of good finishes, this is what we're seeing out of Jacob Douglas right now. He struggled a bit early in the season, but coming off a really good run at Road America, a top 5 yesterday, he's got confidence now.
Yeah, momentum is really key, and more than momentum, it's confidence.
Yeah.
You get a top 5, and you go into the next race, and you're like, all right, I got a top 5. I mean, I can get a top 3.
I can do this.
Yeah, you get on the podium, and you're like, wow, top 3, like, winning isn't that far off.
That's
so
it.
confidence builds on yourself, and your mind is really, really powerful. So if you think you can, you can.
And Jagger Jones already a winner at Barber Motorsports Park. Again, as I said, Jacob Douglas coming off that top 5 finish yesterday. He's built a bit of a gap back to Nicholas D'Orlando, rather. So we'll see what happens. Last time by Michael D'Orlando, just a 100th of a second quicker than Miles Rowe. Miles, who comes into the event now with an 18-point lead, his 4th straight podium finish yesterday, and his 3rd win of the year. You saw Nicholas D'Orlando drop a wheel there coming out of turn number 4. A lot of dust up there. That's going to give Jacob Douglas a little more breathing room as he tries to attack on Jones for P6. So drivers really hanging it out right now as we come into the last 5 laps of this 20-lapper. Just the one yellow flag early on. AMR safety crew getting that thing cleaned up quickly. Only 2 laps we lost of our racing with that yellow flag. So kudos to the AMR IndyCar safety crew for getting that done. And it was a pretty heavy shunt with Dylan Christie and Billy Fraser. Fraser, as we know, limping that car back with damage. He'll finish in the 19th spot. Not what Billy Fraser wanted for sure after that 3rd place finish yesterday, but he'll be back on the racetrack this afternoon, as we said, a 5 o'clock start for the drivers in USF 2000. It's Rowe leading by 0.8 of a second. Another 10th chipped away there for Michael D'Orlando. Denmark runs in 3rd, Johnson 4th, Hayes 5th, Jones 6th, Douglas 7th, D'Orlando 8th, Kohlbecker 9th, and Dzelski in 10th. Papa Savast is a 1:23.4, so about 0.4 quicker. He'll move from 20th to 19th in the order likely with that. Let's have a look at Lockie Hughes, a 1:23.2. That's still not going to be enough. That's not going to do anything for Lockie moving him forward, even though they put the fresh tires on. Give him some time, though, to get these heat built into these Cooper tires. We're not done with both those drivers who are essentially on qualifying runs to try to improve their starting spot for race number 3. Good battle I'm seeing right now here as well between Jones and Douglas, as we said. Look at the fast laps of the race. Indeed, a 1:22.5. Christian Weir did the same thing. They put it on there. Christian Weir did a 1:22.7. Weir's got a chance to potentially work his way up into the top 10. He's doing that qualifying run as well to try to improve. He just did a 1:22.50. So he's going to go up to P9 right now. Started in 12th spot. So a potential top 10 starting spot for Christian Weir as he's picking that up. Joey Brienza picking that up as he watches it on our live timing. And again, great racing so far. Hayes having a good run here as he was able to get by Jones. A lot of the field kind of spreading out now. It's 0.7 of a second for D'Orlando with 3 to go. He closes consistently. Another 10th quicker last time by. There's the gap into turn number 1, or turn number 4 rather. D'Orlando closing. And in his mind, he knows that right now Rowe would likely pull away by about 6 points. 30 points for the win, 25 points for second, but a bonus point for leading the most laps. Rowe's already got that done. What do we got for fast lap of the race right now? That's Weir, so that'll be a point that neither of those drivers can grab. So Miles Rowe looking to extend that championship. And remember, we have the race this afternoon. After that, just 5 more races. 2 on the streets of Toronto in a couple of weeks, and a triple header at Portland International Raceway on Labor Day weekend, the season finale. So this thing's coming down to potentially these 2 drivers scrapping it out. But Jace Denmark's still in there. Billy Fraser could be if he's able to fight back this afternoon. Getting down to potentially 3 or 4 drivers, maybe 5, still in the championship fight, because there's still lots of points up for grabs, over 150 points up for grabs. Oh, being told full course yellow. Full course yellow. Something's happened on the racetrack. That will lock down the grid, and with just 2 laps remaining, I assume we're going to call it. 2 laps remaining, full course yellow, and right now unsure of why we've gone yellow here at this point. Okay, between turn number 8 and 9, we're being told that potentially the number 12 of Bajoy Garg. So Garg falling down the order. He was in the 11th or 12th position. So between turns 9 and 10, so essentially it's down in Thunder Valley. So he came up through turn number 9. That's that right-hander. So potentially maybe spinning there. It's kind of right. Oh, there he is there. Yeah. So he's off in turn number 9, the exit of 9. And it looks like he's backing into the tires. Indeed, there is wing damage to the number 12 of Bajoy Garg. We saw Stingray Robb go off there in the Indy Lights practice. And Garg off, the AMR safety crew there quickly into the tire barrier for the number 12 machine, the D-Force driver. And again, this will indeed shut down the race. We do have time. I don't know whether or not they'll go red. I think at this point, coming around to likely see the white flag fly because the leaders are coming across the line. So that's it. Yeah, white flag is flown, and that is going to lock things down. Bajoy Garg unbuckling and climbing out of the race car. Miles Rowe with his 4th win of the year. Back-to-back jacks here at Mid-Ohio when he gets back around. This is big for Miles Rowe. D'Orlando's going to end up in 2nd. Denmark 3rd, Johnson 4th, Nicky Hayes, his best finish of the year as he rounds out the top 5. Jagger Jones will finish 6th. Jacob Douglas in 7th, another top 10 run for Douglas. Nicholas D'Orlando in 8th, Spike Kohlbecker in 9th, and Jackson Lee rounding out the top 10. I know, Joey, you wish you were out there in the middle of action for sure. When are we going to see you next?
You will see me at...
Where are you going? Portland?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll see Joey Brienza at Portland. He'll be running in the F1600 Championship Series for the remainder of the season, preparing himself to come to USF 2000 next year. So, Joey, where do they follow you? Give me your social media. Are you on Instagram? What are you on?
So I'm on everything.
I like that. That's good.
My Instagram is Joey Brienza. My Facebook, I believe, is Joey Brienza. I think that's my Twitter as well.
All right. Well, so it's Joey Brienza across the board. So, again, a great young driver, folks, from Colorado, running for Exclusive Autosport and F1600 this year. Thank him for joining us here in the booth. It was a wild one for sure, and Joey giving us some good insight. Miles Rowe, huge for him right now. And to be honest, for Michael D'Orlando after the DNF yesterday, yes, he's going to lose some points, but kind of stretches his way ahead of Denmark behind him. Same with Billy Fraser, Jagger Jones. Even though D'Orlando losing a little bit of ground to Miles Rowe up front, he was able to stretch away from those behind him. Anytime you're in a championship battle like this, yeah, you'd like to be able to dominate the action and have it locked before we go to the finale. But when you can start to separate from the rest of the field and maybe bring it down to a 2-driver battle, that's when you know you're kind of lining things up nicely. So we expect to see D'Orlando and Rowe go at it again this afternoon. A 5 o'clock start time for USF 2000. Checker flag will be in the hands of Aaron Likens, the official starter, of course, IndyCar and the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. Final circuit, and this is the one you want as a race winner. You'd like to win under green, but man, when that yellow comes out and you've got the lead and you know that the guy behind you is starting to put the pressure on, a little bit of a relief for Miles Rowe, but back-to-back victories for the New York driver. And again, he'll extend his point lead. Miles Rowe, the winner in USF 2000, round number 2 of this triple header here this weekend. Rowe winning over Michael D'Orlando and Jace Denmark. Denmark back on the podium as well. The big change in the points, of course, the incident between Christie and Billy Fraser coming down the back straightaway. Nikita Johnson gets that finish he wanted yesterday. The 14-year-old for VRD Racing finishes in 4th. Nikki Hayes in 5th. Jagger Jones 6th. Jacob Douglas another top 10 in 7th. Nicholas D'Orlando coming back after the disappointment of yesterday for a strong top 10 finish. Again, D'Orlando starting back in 15th. Worked his way up into the top 10 to 8th. Spike Kohlbecker in 9th. He started 14th. And then Jackson Lee, who started 17th. A good drive up into the top 10. Some pretty solid racing all told. There's your unofficial results on the big board. Thank you so much for those of you tuning in on the Road to Indy TV app as well. Don't go anywhere because we're going to head down to Victory Lane. Very likely right out onto pit lane for driver introductions for Indy Pro 2000. Back-to-back Road to Indy races for you here this morning. We'll do it again this afternoon starting at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. USF 2000 followed by Indy Pro to cap off the day. So more to come here on Road to Indy TV on both the YouTube channel and on the Road to Indy TV app. If you haven't downloaded that, do so at Apple or Google Play. Get it on your mobile device and you will not miss a single lap of action. And to present Jace with his third place trophy, one of our guests from Cooper Tires, Julio Juarez. Julio, thank you so much. Hop up there with him. Able to fight his way back after the issues yesterday, keeping things tight up top for Cape Motorsports. A strong second place finish today for Michael D'Orlando. We'll present Michael with his second place trophy for Josh Hadding. Thank you, Josh. Again, Cooper Tires, a ton of guests here to enjoy what is an amazing weekend of competition here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. The driver working his way up here right now, folks. This is his, I think, 5th straight podium and another win yet again. 4 wins on the year. The point leader, put your hands together from Pabst Racing, Miles Rowe! Miles, a quick chat with you right now. Not quite as easy as yesterday. You were able to pull away. This time, Michael was behind you the entire time. Tons of pressure.
Yeah, Michael had a lot of pace there at the end. We were definitely going to enter into some kind of battle at the end, I know for sure. But, you know, it was good car we still had, Pabst Racing and a Penske Entertainment 22 car. And all we had to do is keep hitting our marks, and that's what we did. And we came away with another win.
Once again, going out on the track after IndyCar, how was the track itself? Was it grippy? Was it slippery? I know things not too hot today. It'll get hot this afternoon.
Yeah, definitely with it being, you know, earlier in the day, there was a little bit more grip on track, and we had to adjust the car for such, and the team did a great job to do that to keep me up front.
Well done. Get on top. We'll get you a trophy. Fantastic run for Miles Rowe. Another win, back-to-back jacks, and to bring his trophy in, Austin Hadding with a first-place trophy. I'll tell you, Miles adding to the collection. His 4th win on the season, 5th career victory in USF 2000, and a point lead heading to the 3rd race of this triple header this afternoon. After we're done here at Mid-Ohio, just 5 races remain in the 2022 championship. 2, a double header on the streets of Toronto, and then Labor Day weekend, the triple header at Portland International Raceway, the season finale. The cream starting to rise to the top here in this USF 2000 program, all chasing that scholarship to move to Indy Pro 2000 in 2023. Again, these drivers will have to do it all again. As we said, they'll get back to the trailer, sit down with their engineers, debrief on what they could potentially do to make these cars just a little bit better. They're all chasing Miles Rowe right now. Same with Michael D'Orlando. He was coming at the end. There's no doubt about it. He needed a couple more laps. He needed it to stay green to the end. But it seems like D'Orlando in that second half, maybe the even last quarter of the race, was about 1/10 of a second quicker each lap. That bodes well for them being able to make that final little adjustment to put D'Orlando into a side-by-side battle with Miles Rowe. It's going to be a tremendous run. Rowe, though, showing great consistency on the weekend, and he extends his point lead, as I said. Indy Pro 2000 drivers have worked their way out onto the racetrack right now and will be going to the command to fire those engines momentarily. Again, drivers in Indy Pro, the second level of the Road to Indy, about 13 cars set to go racing here right now. Just about 2 minutes away before we fire things up with the drivers here in Indy Pro 2000. We're capping things off here with USF 2000. We'll have the champagne spray coming soon. And it's been a tremendous day of competition to start things off. A couple of yellow flags there, but nonetheless some pretty great racing all told. Again, less than 2 minutes before we fire up the engines for Indy Pro 2000 for their event as well. So as the Champagne getting set to fly here right now, we'll go back to back with the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Of course, Indy Lights running their race tomorrow as well. It's been some tremendous racing for those competitors. Champagne, as we said, getting set to fly here. And again, we'll have a command to fire engines. 1 minute away to firing up the engines. Guys, you got the Champagne. You got to wear these suits one more time, like I said. Let's have that celebration for the win in race number 2. And indeed, all 3 drivers, 2 from Pabst, 1 from Cape, ready to celebrate. We'll put it back up into the booth to the voice of Mid-Ohio, Mr. John Phippen.